Gonna have a fun week this week, ladies and gentlemen. This week I am the only person in on the team that is a full-time developer. I have been there for the longest amount of time, i.e. since March. The other two people are people that I interviewed and chose to hire. Which is going to be strange, it's going to be a strange week. The two main people more senior than me are both on holiday this week. So I'm essentially in charge. It's also going to be manic because today is the end of the sprint. We have a sprint review and a sprint retrospective in the afternoon. We've got to get one story through code review, through testing, and hopefully get it signed off today. Then tomorrow we need to try and sign off a story which we tried to get into the sprint but we weren't able to because a load of people were ill. We have to push that through code review, get that into deployment, get that deployed and tested. And then I have to do obviously the next week's worth of work, and I need to try and dent that as much as possible to kind of show off how much I can do on my own, I guess. The next couple of days, today and tomorrow, are going to be, well no, today particularly, are going to be a bit intensive because we need to get this story signed off. We need it signed off. So I'm going to be helping out testing wherever possible. Any bugs that come out I've got to fix and get them redeployed in as fast as possible. Get it through testing as fast as possible, and hopefully find some time so that I can start denting things for next week a bit ahead of time. We've got a weird couple of branches. This branch that we're working on at the moment needs to be in and signed off before I can finish the next branch, which is mostly finished, but that'll be on tomorrow. I'll end up doing that tomorrow, but I can start stories that are a little bit ahead in the next sprint today if I have time, but I don't think I'm going to have time. It's going to be a manic day. Hopefully the week won't be as manic because after Tuesday it'll be a case of right, just put your head down, generate as much work as I possibly can do, so that it looks like we've got loads done when everyone comes back next week. Come to this lovely park again for lunch. Tester isn't in today, so I finished all of the testing on the thing that we were trying to get through to testing, but I don't really have the authority to sign it off yet. So I'm kind of in this weird limbo where it's all tested and it's all alright, but I can't merge the branches through, which means I'm quite limited on what I can pick up. But that is by the by. What I've been thinking about recently, over the past couple of days really, but a lot today while I've been having lunch, is that I should probably do more things in the public. Some things that I do could be done in the public eye a little bit more than they currently have been, and maybe I would benefit from doing that. So I've been looking into ways that I can, before that I even have an official website for things, I can use other platforms like GitHub, Medium, etc. in order to essentially publicize or begin building a profile for something. I just need to devise a way of doing that in a relatively unconfusing and professional kind of way. So I'm going to try and leverage all of the skills I've learned from managing YouTube channels and blogs into designing and trying to figure out where things that I want to go, where things the company might want to go, where things that my professional self wants to go, and where the layover is between all of those things, and yeah, working off from there. Essentially strategizing my social media or PR front. I have a product that can be packaged up and released. It's not a huge product, it's just something I'll create and open GitHub for and release as a NuGet package publicly instead of privately, but it's a place to start, you know? I feel like I can benefit other people, I myself will benefit personally, and the entity that will soon one day become a company will benefit as well. The key is trying to do it in as light a weight way as possible. I can't build a fully fledged website. I need to leverage as much of existing infrastructure as possible so that I don't have to do it myself, but leave myself open to pull it in when those things start to exist. That's the target. That's why I'm looking to use things like Medium so that I can put a post onto Medium, and then when my own website exists I can slap it onto there as well and it won't matter. I need to play this safe though. I need to actively register names and stuff to make sure that everything's kind of ready. So there is going to be an increased cost to myself, so I'm going to have to make sure that everything's all costed out and works out alright, and then do it, I guess. What a strange day, ladies and gentlemen. Oh man, I had a sprint retrospective where I was essentially the sole reviewer retrospecting on a sprint that basically I was on my own for a lot of it. It's quite bizarre. I was essentially trying to critique myself because the rest of everyone else was basically off for a week because they were all ill. So, a bit weird. Bloody seagulls. I don't know why this city doesn't just have bins. Now, the problem that I have with moving things into a more public setting is that it's so expensive for me to do so. Essentially, for me to set things up how I'd kind of want it with a company GitHub page, an organisation company page in a way, and things like that. This is probably Medium posts. I need to buy that thing, buy the GitHub thing, and I also need to register the company name. So you're basically talking like about £50 a month, just so I can do those blog posts and just so I can host that GitHub thing. The question is, how valuable are those two things to me? Because my main project isn't going to be in Git. There's going to be a clear divide between what I do publicly and what I do privately, and my project is private, and it tends to stay so. So I don't really know if that's worth it or not. It's quite an outlay, which is quite annoying because I was getting excited by this, but the idea of spending £50 a month seems relatively silly, although it is only £50 a month. And in theory it will spur me to carry on, like, actively do stuff because I'm spending the money on it, you know. But things are going to get more and more expensive as this project moves on. Because that doesn't even have like web hosting in it, or Azure, which is something I'm going to end up having soon, and that's going to be pricey. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been kind of planning that, doing some shopping, and I've been doing programming. I've been trying to get Service Fabric. I think there's a bug in the latest Service Fabric NuGet packages, which basically means that it doesn't build on the fucking host server. So I've like taken out all of the Service Fabric stuff and just left the main thing, the main solution build, and it'll be a case of waiting until that bug is fixed. I spent about an hour yesterday and about probably an hour today trying to get that fixed. I'm like, fuck it, it's not worth my time. Instead I've been hooking up validation of models and whatnot as I move to the old, as I'm like hooking up the login page to the actual back-end stuff, although the back-end stuff doesn't actually exist yet, but when it does exist, I'm trying to pick the route through it in the most, in a normal way. I'm trying to do, yeah, I don't know. The logic is, what's the point in this back-end thing? I'll put the front end first and then kind of work back, rather than from the back forward. We'll see how that goes. Look at them clouds today, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be rainy. So that means I've got a heavy bag. My efforts to have a productive lunchtime where I'm not kind of just sat scrolling on the computer. I brought my laptop, I can do some blog writing, I can do some programming if I need to. I transferred all the code over. It isn't something that I want to make a habit of doing, but it is something I'm willing to do when it's wet, so that I don't just kind of sit around and do nothing. What I need to do is find a way, a nice way of writing blogs on my phone. Because I feel like the best thing for that would be like an iPad or something like that. But obviously iPads are expensive or whatnot. The problem with my laptop is that carrying 2 laptops around is excessive and heavy. So otherwise, I've been thinking about making things more public a bit overnight, and I think for basically £50 a month to do it properly and safely, I feel like I'm not going to get enough out of that. I'd be interested in what your opinions are. Essentially, at the moment, the only thing I have to release is a NuGet package, which I could just release. The issue being that, as a paranoid state, I don't want to release the name of a company without registering it. I've been bitten by people who want to use my identity for things before, so it's probably a good idea not to do that. But yeah, at the moment, the only thing I have that I want to release is a NuGet package, but I have also got an idea for a Visual Studio Online extension, which should be relatively easy to do in theory. It's something that me and Dibble were talking about how like useful it would be, and I'm like, well, I'll just throw that together, and then I could release it under the umbrella of the company, and in theory start to build like a profile for it. That profile is going to cost me money, £50 a month money. So is it going to be better for me just to do some professional blogs that are like more programming based, and I've got 3 that I'm writing at the moment, well 3 that I want to write at the moment. Is it best for me to do that and then just kind of wait until further down the line until my main project's a little bit more ready before I start spending money on the main thing? I'd be interested to know what you think about that. It's a Tuesday and I'm editing videos. That's all wrong. I normally do it Thursdays, man. I wonder, is it confusing just like how randomly it is that I upload? Like, there is no schedule at all. Video is all sorted. I should probably stand corrected as well. £30 a month, not 20. I didn't realise that you could set up organisations on GitHub for free. Like, I don't even need a private GitHub. The whole idea of the GitHub page is that it's public. So, I will probably just do the bog standard one. I didn't realise that was an option. I have this really weird like bite on my wrist. It's really like itchy. I wake up like at 6 o'clock. So I need to go to bed now. I'm working on adding the users, trying to like sign up a user and then try and get that pipeline through basically. And I got a bit carried away and I need to go to bed. It's been a little bit of fun. I don't know if I mentioned this the other day, but I had some issues getting the security service to build properly on the build server. And I think that's because I've kind of like, it seems to be a bit broken. So what I basically tried to do was I tried to just kind of gut it, bring the code back in, and I've got this weird issue now where some of the tests pass. I have basically, I created a shared project, which is a shared, essentially a common project. They store things that are common in between all the separate routes through the security service. And that works in theory, unless the tests are .NET Core 4.7. 4.7 is referencing another project called 4.7. That project is then referencing 1.6. Any unit test that uses a module from 1.6, which I guess I am pulling in, because I do reference that. Maybe that's where this issue is coming in. Any reference where I do that, it means that I break it basically. Like the test fails because it can't find system.runtime, which is strange. I couldn't figure out what the problem was, obviously. Yeah, the security service is, I've got to the point where like the security service needs to know context of who's signing in. So I thought, oh fuck yeah, it actually makes a bit more sense to spin up a microservice to keep track of users and like what kind of domain they've got. So I'm going to spin up one of those very quickly and a sign up page and hook it in. We're trying to make progress. We're trying to make progress, but also trying to stay focused and try not to get like all scatty. Very difficult. Otherwise, my plan of attack I've spent some time drafting up blogs. My plan of attack, essentially, you guys will have time to inform me what your opinions is, but essentially my plan is to get to the point where I can launch publicly, i.e. like I have NuGet packages and whatnot. I'm going to try and do everything kind of like on GitHub and whatnot quietly without anyone knowing and then go bang, there we go live style, kind of so I can keep a relatively steady output of stuff. Like I said, there's one thing that I want to have a look into doing, Visual Studio extension. So I need to get around to doing that. Might do that on the bus. The priority for today, as I start to want to store information in my services, in my microservices, is I need to figure out how that data is going to be stored. What I wanted to do was to use some kind of reliable stateful service in Service Fabric, but I don't think that is going to be a wise thing to do. If you lose the entire Service Fabric cluster, then you've lost the data unless you have backup systems. So I feel like it's a bit unnecessary to do that. So I know that I'm going to have a SQL database for authentication and security. The question is, what do I have otherwise? I was looking at, for the other stuff, that's why I was looking at stateful databases, stateful services, but they basically just store the files on the VMs that they're running on and then replicate it around. It doesn't back it up itself to a separate area, and I feel like I want a separate thing. A separate entity. So my two options, my obvious option is CosmosDB, which is Azure's database, or, because I want NoSQL, or Mongo. I can't find a pricing calculator for Mongo on Azure. I'm hoping that I don't have to like spin up a VM specifically for it. I think I could just do it as a service. But CosmosDB is relatively expensive but it's really cheap for data. So I can have basically as much data as I fucking want for like literally like an extra gigabyte is something like a penny a month or something. It's really fucking cheap. But the thing that's expensive is how many requests per second you can do. Now I don't necessarily have that many requests per second, so that's fine for me. But if MongoDB, it depends how they basically slide up, and that's what I'm going to be dealing with today, is figuring out how that works. Maybe a SQL database is going to be better. I doubt it, but we'll try it. So I think whatever happens, I'm going to end up using DocumentDB API, because that sits on top of Mongo and DocumentDB, so I can basically just switch and swap between the two. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be playing with today. Basically just exploring APIs, exploring pricing and whatnot. It's not becoming an issue, but it's becoming something that I've become aware of, is the pricing of all the infrastructure that I'm going to need. So wherever possible, I'm trying to take that into account before doing stuff. So Service Fabric is relatively expensive based on the price of the VMs that you put within it. Azure Service Bus is relatively cheap. That's fine. That's not a problem. The database, SQL databases are cheap. It's like £4 a month for a SQL database. It would be ample. In fact, more than enough, to be honest. Weird. I have a weird set of priorities, because really, like, load is... I'm not going to have a lot of load at once. What I need is compute. I just need processing power. And I need, like, hard drive space, basically, where the services are run. It's a weird service. Like, it's a strange thing. Like, the opposite of what's cheap. Like, the thing that, I don't know, you know what I mean? Some free advice for you, ladies and gentlemen. Been on the bus looking through applications I told you I'm getting involved with like interviews and stuff. If you're ever given the question, why have you chosen to apply to X? What differentiates X from its competitor? It's a trick question. It's deliberately worded to make you talk about the company. Don't do that. What I want you to do is show that you've done research and you know who you're applying to, all that bullshit. But there's nothing more boring than just telling me, what do I get as a person, apart from knowing that you've researched me, if you just tell me about how good my company is. I know what it is, I work there. Instead do is flip it on its head and say, I am this, I am this, I am this, and that's why you appeal to me. Talk about that. So you talk about yourself for 60%, and then talk about, and that's why you appeal to me, because you do this, 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 this. Don't say, you are very innovative, you do things in the marketplace, you're very competitive, all this kind of stuff. It's boring. It's boring, I learn nothing about you. What you want to say is, I am a hard team worker. I love working in teams, and I think the way, and you have a great reputation for having great teamwork. That kind of bullshit. So you flip it. Instead of saying you have a great reputation for teamwork and I think I'm good in teams, you say, I really like working in a team, you've got a good reputation for teamwork. Flip it on its head. Not only is it more interesting, it's also a little bit different. Everyone else is going to fall down that same trap. Flip it on its head, stand out. You're welcome. Why do you want to apply to this university? This university has great reputation in science, this. And I want to do that. Or, I love science, I'm good at this, and you're good at that. My opinion, the second one's better. Today is a get the fuck out of the office kind of day. It's lunchtime, I've left. Everything's gone to shit. Half of the infrastructure's been taken offline, mainly because a development database has gone off, but they can't figure out why. I think something's hammering it as it tries to come back up. So we've taken our entire environment down. I think it is us because we only have one thing that pokes it like every 3 seconds to basically figure out if anything's changed. And as far as I was aware, that wasn't running anymore, but we've taken down all the servers, so the infrastructure's gone. Someone had to do a demo without the infrastructure using my laptop on dev, on localhost, sorry. Which meant I was using the other person's laptop, which meant I've spent the past like hour and a half trying to do work on there, bearing in mind I've got like none of my Chrome extensions, I've not logged in on anything that I need, and all of this kind of crap. That was hard work. And then after this meeting, the guy comes out and goes, yeah, everything we've done on like the summary page, we're gonna have to like redo it. They don't like it. Like, fuck's sake. It's a case of it's gonna either get in the way of this current story, or we have to cut some stuff out of the current story, make a new story, reprioritize, redo everything. And I'm like, and also the DNS servers are all down, so we can't even, like, every now and again we just can't hit web pages. I'm like, fuck this, I'm going for lunch. Otherwise it's a toss up between MongoDB on a VM or the service of DocumentDB. Even though DocumentDB, in theory the VMs are cheaper, DocumentDB is more expensive, but I think I prefer the idea of having a service that I just call into rather than, like, I wouldn't have a VM with SQL database on it, I'd have a SQL database in Azure. You know what I mean? So I think I'll probably go DocumentDB, even though it's a little bit more expensive. So we'll see. But what I do know is it'll scale really well. Need a blooming fast turnaround as well this evening because we're going snooker and I haven't got my cue. It doesn't look like I'm going to be winning tonight, does it? Seriously, like, I got in at 1:15, cooked dinner, ate it, left by the hour. That's not bad when dinner takes 20 minutes. I was late back as well, like later than me, and I was late. I've never, ever in the history of me getting that park and ride had to stand up, and today I did. Because, you know when you like walk past the end of a queue because you're so used to there not being a queue, and I walked to the front of it and I'm like, what the fuck, this goes back miles. Literally the second to last person to get on the bus. Looks like 2 of the buses that normally do that route, so there's normally 4, now there's only 2, had broken down. So it was very busy indeed, and the bus struggled to get up the hill. Chasing down these cyclists. Oh, they're going a different way. With respect to work, I managed to think of a good solution where I could keep everyone happy. I had to keep the business happy, I had to keep the testers happy, I had to keep, like, the story and, like, the team happy who aren't around. Everyone seems happy with the solution I came up with. There was a bit of management. Essentially, project manager was like, we need this thing in. How's the best way to do it, Jamie? I'm like, here's a technical solution, here's one that suits the stories we're doing, here's one that we can get stuff signed off and we don't end up blocking other things in the sprint. Whew, it was good fun. It's time for my usual evening night ride around town. It is en route, so I am chilling. Somehow I've managed to talk for 25 minutes in only 3 days. So I can only apologise about that. I'm having an early night, as I do most Wednesdays. Well, it's not really true. Let me know what you think about the things that I asked you about in this video. I'll try and get this up for Friday. Shouldn't be too difficult to do. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I'll catch you later.